Commander Gray stood at the bridge of his flagship, the Dominion's pride, his 4 eyes fixed on the blue-green planet floating in the view screen. His species had conquered 17 worlds across 3 star systems, but something about this Earth made his scales itch. The scans didn't make sense. "Report," he ordered, his translator converting his clicks and whistles into standard galactic basic. Lieutenant Pike, his sensor officer, pulled up several holographic displays. "Sir, the planet shows signs of early space travel capability, suggesting a level 2 civilization." However, Pike's voice trailed off as he adjusted the readings. "Continue," Gray commanded, his tail twitching with impatience. "The biological readings are troubling, sir. The dominant species appears to have evolved alongside some of the most efficient predators we've ever encountered. Our databases can't even classify some of these creatures." Gray moved closer to the displays, his inner eyelids narrowing as he studied the data. The humans, as they called themselves, seemed physically unimpressive. Bipedal, soft-skinned, with no natural weapons to speak of. But they had spread across their entire planet, adapting to every environment from frozen wastes to burning deserts. "Show me their military capabilities," Gray ordered. The holographic display shifted, showing various human weapons and vehicles. Nothing particularly impressive by Dominion standards, but then something caught his attention. "What's this facility?" He pointed at a heavily guarded compound. Pike zoomed in on the location. "Some kind of training ground, sir. We've intercepted numerous communications about beast units and releasing the hounds. Our linguistics team believes these are references to biological weapons." Gray felt a familiar thrill run through his body. Every species they'd conquered had its secrets, its hidden weapons, but biological warfare was something the Dominion understood well. "Can we get better scans of these beasts?" "Negative, sir. The facilities are heavily shielded. However, we've picked up some interesting heat signatures." Pike brought up a new display showing thermal images. "Whatever they're keeping in there, they're warm-blooded and highly active. Some readings suggest creatures larger than our own war mounts." Just then, the communication officer's station lit up. "Sir, we're intercepting a training exercise transmission." "On screen," Gray ordered. The main view screen flickered to life, showing a human in some kind of combat uniform. The human was shouting something. And then, Gray's scales rattled in anticipation. The human had said those words again. "Release the beast." The transmission cut off abruptly, but not before the sound of fierce growling came through the speakers. Several of the bridge crew shifted uncomfortably at the noise. "Analysis," Gray demanded. His strategic officer, Commander Wells, stepped forward. "Sir, these humans appear to have achieved something remarkable. They've managed to weaponize their planet's apex predators. The level of genetic engineering required to control such creatures." Gray raised a hand, silencing Wells. "You assume they're using technology to control these beasts. What if?" He paused, remembering stories from his species' own primitive past. What if they found another way? The bridge fell silent. The idea that a level 2 civilization could control dangerous predators without advanced technology seemed impossible, yet the evidence was right in front of them. "Sir," Pike spoke up again, "I've compiled data on their most heavily guarded beast facilities. There are hundreds of them across their planet, all with similar layouts. They call them K9 units." Gray made his decision. The Dominion had not become the greatest power in this sector by being cautious. Prepare a first contact package. Standard procedure. Demand their surrender. Offer them the chance to submit to Dominion rule peacefully. And if they refuse, sir. Gray's outer mandibles clicked in amusement. Then we'll see just how dangerous their beasts really are. Send the message to all their major military installations. I want their leaders to understand exactly what they're dealing with. As his crew rushed to comply with his orders, Gray continued studying the scans of Earth. These humans had survived on a death world, alongside creatures that should have wiped them out eons ago. Instead, they had thrived, And if the intercepted communications were correct, they had somehow turned their planet's predators into weapons. He would not underestimate them. The Dominion hadn't survived this long by being careless, but neither would he show weakness. Earth would join the Dominion, one way or another. Little did Commander Gray know, his greatest misconception wasn't about Earth's weaponry or technology. It was about the true nature of humanity's relationship with its so-called beasts. Tom walked across the military base's training ground, his boots crunching on the gravel as Rex trotted beside him. The Belgian Malinois kept perfect heel position, his alert ears catching every sound of the busy base. Above them, the morning sky had an odd purple tinge. The alien ships that had appeared yesterday were affecting Earth's upper atmosphere. At least you don't care about aliens, right, buddy? Tom patted Rex's head as they reached the kennel building. Other handlers were already there, going about their morning routines despite the global crisis. Military working dogs still needed their exercise and training, alien invasion or not. The base's speakers crackled to life. All personnel, report to the main assembly area immediately. This is not a drill. Repeat, all personnel to the main assembly area. Tom looked down at Rex, who remained calm despite the tension in the announcement. Looks like we're about to find out what our visitors want. He turned to the other handlers. Secure the dogs. We might be here a while. Inside the assembly area, hundreds of soldiers gathered around large screens. The base commander, Colonel Peters, stood at the front, his face grim. The screens flickered, and suddenly they were staring at something that definitely wasn't human. The alien had gray scales, 4 eyes, and what looked like mandibles. Its translator produced slightly mechanical-sounding English. People of Earth, the alien began. I am Commander Gray of the Stellar Dominion. Our empire spans 3 star systems and 17 worlds. We have come to offer you a choice. Tom felt Rex press against his leg. He'd been allowed to keep his dog with him, as had the other handlers. The brass had decided that during an alien crisis, they wanted their best assets close at hand. The alien continued. Submit to Dominion rule, and we will guide your species to greatness. Resist, and we will be forced to take more direct action. Commander Gray's outer eyes narrowed. We know about your secret weapons. Your beasts. Submit peacefully, and you may keep them, under our supervision, of course. A murmur ran through the crowd. Tom looked down at Rex, who was watching the screen with tilted head. Secret weapons. Beasts. Colonel Peters stepped forward. The Joint Chiefs have already prepared our response. Watch. The screen split, showing Earth's reply. A stern-faced general appeared. Commander Gray, humanity appreciates your offer. However, we must decline. Earth is our home, and we will defend it. We suggest you reconsider your position. The alien commander's scales rattled, apparently their equivalent of laughter. You believe your limited technology can stand against the Dominion fleet, or perhaps, his 4 eyes gleamed, perhaps you're counting on your beast weapons. Let me assure you, we have experience with biological warfare. The general's expression didn't change. We have no biological weapons, Commander, but we do have something you clearly don't understand. Your scans have detected our K9 units, the general continued. You've seen our training facilities. You believe you know what we're capable of. You don't. Leave Earth space, Commander. This is your only warning. The alien transmission cut off abruptly. Tom could almost feel the tension in the air. Around him, other handlers were quietly calming their dogs, who had picked up on the stress in the room. Colonel Peters addressed the assembly. All right, people, you know what this means. K9 units remain on high alert. All handlers will bunk near their dogs until further notice. Everyone else, battle stations. As the crowd dispersed, Tom knelt beside Rex. Hear that, boy? We're about to show them what a real beast can do. Rex's tail wagged once, his training keeping him controlled despite Tom's excited tone. Major Wilson, the K9 unit commander, gathered the handlers. "They're expecting monsters," she said, looking at each handler and dog in turn. "They're expecting mindless beasts. What they're going to get is something much more dangerous. Highly trained military working dogs and their handlers." Tom smiled as Rex sat perfectly at attention. The aliens had no idea what they were dealing with. They were looking for savage beasts, but what they would find was something far more impressive. The result of thousands of years of partnership between humans and dogs, a bond that had begun around prehistoric campfires and had evolved into one of the most effective military partnerships in history. "Let them come," Tom whispered to Rex, scratching behind his ears. "We'll show them what Earth's beasts can really do." Commander Gray watched the dropships descend toward the human military base. He had chosen this target specifically. Their scans showed it housed one of the largest concentrations of what humans called K9 units. The early morning darkness would give his troops the advantage, or so he thought. "Strike team, report," he commanded through the neural link. "Landing zone secured, Commander." "No resistance yet," Captain Vex's voice crackled back. "Moving toward the beast containment facility now. Strange. Our motion sensors are picking up smaller signatures than expected." Gray's scales tightened with anticipation. "Remember, they may have ways to mask their weapons' true size. Proceed with caution." On the ground, Tom was already awake when the alarm sounded. He'd been sleeping in the kennel building as ordered, Rex in his usual spot next to the cot. The dog's ears had perked up seconds before the actual alarm, their first warning of the invasion. "Good boy," Tom whispered, quickly putting on his tactical gear. Around him, other handlers were doing the same. They had drilled for this, though nobody had expected to be defending against aliens. Major Wilson's voice came through their radio headsets. "All handlers, defensive positions. Remember your training. These aren't your usual threats, but the principles remain the same. Protect your dogs at all costs." Tom checked Rex's tactical vest, reinforced and equipped with everything they needed. The dogs stood perfectly still, years of training evident in every controlled movement. Outside, they could hear the whine of alien engines. "Team 2, with me," Tom commanded, leading several handlers and their dogs to their assigned position. They moved silently through the darkness, taking cover behind reinforced barriers. The kennels had been designed with defense in mind, though not specifically against alien invasion. The first blast took out the perimeter fence. Through the smoke, Tom could see alien figures moving, tall, scaled creatures in sleek armor. They moved with military precision, weapons ready. "Hold," Tom whispered, both to Rex and through his radio. The dog didn't make a sound, his eyes fixed on the approaching threats. Captain Vex led his squad toward the kennel building. Their sensors showed multiple life forms inside, but something wasn't right. "Commander, these readings, they're inconsistent with the power signatures we detected from orbit. The humans must be using shielding technology," Gray's voice replied. "Breach the facility. Find those beasts." The aliens placed charges on the kennel side door. Tom smiled grimly. They'd chosen exactly where the defense plan had predicted. His team was positioned perfectly. The explosion was oddly quiet, some kind of alien tech. Through the smoke, alien soldiers moved in, weapons sweeping the area. They passed right by the hidden handlers and their dogs. "What is this?" Vex demanded, staring at the rows of kennels. Each held what appeared to be some kind of small four-legged creature. "Commander, something's wrong. These can't be their weapons. They're two." That's when Tom gave the first signal. Not to attack. Not yet. But a simple command. As one, every dog in the facility stood at attention, eyes locked on the aliens, not making a sound. The alien soldiers froze. Their sensors were going haywire, detecting levels of intelligence in these creatures that shouldn't be possible without technological enhancement. They're not restrained," one soldier reported, his voice shaking. "No force fields, no control collars." "Commander, how are the humans controlling them?" Gray's voice was tense. Find their control center. These must be decoys. The real weapons have to be here somewhere. Tom looked at Rex, then at the other handlers. Years of training had prepared them for combat, but not a single dog had barked or broken position. The aliens were about to learn that humanity's greatest weapons weren't about size or savagery. They were about loyalty, intelligence, and partnership. Ready, Tom whispered into his radio, giving Rex the hand signal to prepare. Around the room, other dogs tensed, waiting for their handlers' commands. The aliens had come expecting monsters. Instead, they were about to face something far more formidable. The perfect combination of human training and canine capability. The real fight was about to begin, and Earth's beasts were ready to show their true power. Captain Vex raised his hand, stopping his squad's advance. Something about these small creatures bothered him. They were too calm, too controlled. His combat scanner showed their heart rates were steady, their muscle tension perfect, like living machines. "Squad, hold position," he ordered. "Begin detailed scan-off." The lights went out. In the sudden darkness, Vex's 4 eyes adjusted quickly, but the scene before him remained unsettling. Dozens of pairs of eyes reflected his squad's light beams, each completely still, waiting. Above them, Commander Gray watched through the squad's neural feeds. "Captain, where are the real weapons?" "Those can't be." A human voice cut through the darkness. Light. The kennels blazed with backup lights, momentarily blinding the alien soldiers. In that instant, Tom gave Rex the command they'd practiced countless times, but never against an alien force. "Work." Rex moved like lightning, a blur of focused power and training. He wasn't alone. Throughout the kennel, other handlers gave their commands, each dog responding with perfect precision. Impossible. Vex stumbled backward as he watched Rex leap. The dog wasn't attacking wildly like a beast. He was executing a perfectly planned takedown, aiming for the weak points in the alien armor that the handlers had identified during planning. On the bridge, Gray's scales rattled in shock. Those are their weapons, but they're so small. Tom moved with Rex, the partnership of handler and dog functioning as one unit. Other handlers did the same, their dogs disabling alien weapons, creating chaos in their formation, hurting the invaders exactly where the humans wanted them. "Sir," Pike's voice was urgent on the bridge. "These creatures, their attack patterns are structured. They're not just animals, they're displaying tactical awareness." Rex had an alien soldier pinned, his jaws locked on the armored joint they'd trained for. The alien wasn't injured. The dogs weren't trained to kill, but to subdue and control. "Fall back," Vex ordered, watching his squad's formation crumble. They had trained to fight monsters, expecting massive beasts. Instead, they faced something their combat computers couldn't understand. Animals that fought with intelligence and restraint, guided by human handlers who weren't controlling them through force or technology, but through trust and training. Tom watched Rex work, giving hand signals for different tactics as needed. The dog responded instantly, moving from threat to threat, never losing focus. Around them, other dogs and handlers were doing the same, their years of training evident in every movement. "Commander," Vex reported, his squad retreating. "These aren't weapons we can counter. Every attack pattern we try, they adapt. They're not mindless beasts. They're soldiers." Gray's voice shook slightly. "How? How are they controlling them without technology?" A older handler named Mike laughed as his German shepherd efficiently disarmed another alien. "Control them? You still don't get it, do you? We don't control them. We work together." The aliens retreated to their entry point, shocked by the precision of their defeat. Not a single alien had been seriously injured, but their entire squad had been neutralized. Their weapons were scattered across the floor, their formation broken, their tactics useless against an enemy they couldn't understand. Through the neural feed, Gray watched in fascination. The beasts were returning to their handlers, sitting calmly at their sides, waiting for the next command. No rage, no mindless violence, just perfect discipline. "Sir," Pike reported from the bridge, "I'm analyzing their training methods now. These creatures, these dogs, they've been partners with humans for thousands of years. This isn't genetic engineering or technology. This is evolution, partnership, something we've never seen before." Tom patted Rex's head, giving him the release command. The dog immediately relaxed, though he stayed alert. Around them, other handlers did the same, their dogs shifting from combat mode to watchful rest in an instant. "Still think we're just controlling beasts?" Tom called out to the retreating aliens. "Maybe it's time you learned what real partnership looks like." On his bridge, Commander Gray realized that his entire understanding of Earth's secret weapons had been wrong. They weren't facing monsters at all. They were facing something far more formidable. An alliance between species that went beyond anything the Dominion had ever encountered. Commander Gray had seen enough. His scales flushed dark with anger as he watched his elite squad retreat from creatures he could have stepped on. This wasn't possible. It had to be some kind of trick. "Prepare my personal transport," he ordered, "if you want something done right." On the ground, Tom and the other handlers were securing their section of the kennel. Rex and the other dogs maintained their guard positions, still fresh despite the brief but intense combat. Years of training meant they could maintain this state of readiness for hours. "Incoming." Major Wilson's voice crackled over the radio. Big energy signature dropping from orbit. "All units, prepare for." The roof of the kennel exploded inward. Through the falling debris, a massive transport pod crashed down. Its doors opened with a hiss of hydraulics, revealing Commander Gray in what looked like battle armor. He stood nearly 10 feet tall, his 4 eyes glowing with electromagnetic enhancement. "So," his voice boomed through external speakers, "these are your mighty beasts. These, pets." Tom stood his ground, Rex perfectly steady beside him. Around the room, other handlers and their dogs held position, waiting. "You still don't understand," Tom called out. "But maybe it's time we showed you what these pets can really do." He turned to Major Wilson. "Ma'am." She nodded grimly. "All handlers, execute Protocol 0. This was it. The command they rarely used, the one that showed the full capability of their trained dogs. Tom looked down at Rex and gave the command they'd practiced but rarely needed. "Unleash." The change was instant but controlled. Every dog in the unit shifted stance, moving from guard position to full combat readiness. The alien sensors went crazy as they detected the change, not in size or strength, but in the complete focus of every dog. "What?" Gray started to say, but he never finished. Rex moved first, but not alone. The dogs attacked as a coordinated unit, each team working with their handler in perfect sync. They weren't just attacking. They were executing complex tactical maneuvers that the aliens had never seen animals perform. Tom moved with Rex, calling out commands that changed their strategy on the fly. "Left flank. Guard up. Switch." Gray's battle armor was advanced, but it hadn't been designed to fight opponents this small and agile. His weapons were useless against targets that could duck under his guard, that worked together to herd him into vulnerable positions. "Impossible," Gray shouted, stumbling as Rex and another dog, coordinating perfectly, tangled his legs while their handlers provided covering fire with stun weapons. "They're just animals." "They're not just animals," Tom said, directing Rex with hand signals. "They're our partners, our friends, our family." The dogs worked in perfect shifts, some engaging while others held back, conserving energy. It wasn't just attack and defend. It was complex military strategy being executed by animals with human-level tactical understanding. Gray's armor started to spark as the dogs found weak points, disabling systems just as they'd been trained to do with human equipment. Their teeth, designed by nature to bring down prey, proved just as effective against alien technology. "How?" Gray demanded, his armor systems failing. "How are they so precise? Where are the control chips? The neural implants. Tom whistled sharply, and Rex disengaged, returning to his side instantly. The other dogs did the same, still ready but showing perfect control. You're looking for technology, Tom explained, patting Rex's head. But what you're seeing is thousands of years of trust, breeding, and training. Something your empire with all its weapons never understood. Gray's armor crashed to one knee, systems failing. He stared at the dogs, not with fear now, but with growing wonder. Each one sat perfectly next to their handler, alert but calm, ready but controlled. This is what we've been trying to tell you, Major Wilson said, stepping forward. Earth's greatest weapons aren't our guns or bombs. They're the bonds we forge with other species, the partnerships we build through trust and respect. Watching through his failing armor, Gray finally began to understand. These weren't the mindless beasts he'd expected. They were something his empire had never encountered before. Creatures who fought not because they were controlled or forced, but because they chose to stand with humanity. Commander Gray stood before the Dominion High Council, his scales still showing damage from the battle on Earth. The massive chamber was silent as the council members studied the footage playing on the giant screens behind him. Explain this, High Commander Bolt demanded, his aged scales dark with concern. How did Earth's primitive forces defeat our best squad? Gray played with the translator on his wrist, buying time. How could he explain something he barely understood himself? The screen showed Rex and the other dogs in action, moving with their handlers like they shared one mind. High Council, he began, we made a critical error in our assessment of Earth's capabilities. We searched for technology, for weapons, for control systems. We were wrong. Wrong about what? Another council member asked, leaning forward. Everything. Gray pulled up new footage. Dogs playing with children, working with police, helping the elderly. These creatures, these dogs, aren't weapons at all. At least, not in the way we thought. The council chamber erupted in clicks and whistles of confusion. Gray raised his hand for silence. Humans have something we've never seen before. They don't dominate other species. They form partnerships with them. These dogs choose to work with humans. They fight alongside them, not because they're forced to, but because they want to. Back on Earth, Tom was giving Rex his evening brush. The base was still being repaired after the battle, but the routine helped them both relax. Major Wilson walked in, holding a tablet. You'll want to see this, she said, showing Tom the screen. It was a live feed from the Dominion High Council, where Commander Gray was speaking. The humans call them man's best friend, Gray was saying, his voice carrying genuine wonder. It's not just a phrase. These animals have evolved alongside humans for thousands of years. They can read human emotions, understand complex commands, and make tactical decisions. The council members watched in silence as Gray showed them more footage. Handlers and dogs training together, working as teams, sharing quiet moments between missions. Our empire is built on control, Gray continued. We conquer, we dominate, we rule. But humans found another way. They formed a partnership with another species so deep that it changed both of them forever. Tom scratched Rex behind the ears as they watched. The dog's tail thumped softly against the floor, but his eyes stayed alert, watching the alien on the screen. High Commander, Gray said, standing straighter, I recommend we immediately cease all hostile actions against Earth. Not because we can't win, though I'm not sure we could, but because they have something to teach us. Teach us. Bolt's scales rattled in surprise. What could these primitives teach the Dominion? That true strength doesn't come from control. It comes from trust, from partnership, from bonds formed over generations. Gray touched his damaged scales. Their beasts defeated our best troops not because they were stronger or more advanced, but because they fought alongside their human partners willingly. The council chamber erupted in debate. On Earth, Major Wilson turned off the tablet with a smile. Looks like you and Rex made quite an impression, she told Tom. The diplomatic corps wants K9 teams to help establish relations with the Dominion. Apparently, Commander Gray has requested to learn more about our training methods. Tom looked at Rex, who wagged his tail at hearing his name. What do you think, buddy? Ready to teach some aliens about the real meaning of partnership? Rex's answer was to press his head against Tom's hand, a gesture that said more about trust and friendship than any words could have expressed. It was this simple truth that the mighty Dominion had failed to understand. Earth's greatest strength wasn't in its weapons or technology, but in the bonds between species who chose to work together. 3 months after the failed invasion, the military base looked very different. Alien transport ships sat peacefully next to human vehicles, and the sound of barking mixed with the clicks and whistles of Dominion speech. The K9 Cultural Exchange Program was in full swing. Commander Gray, now serving as the Dominion's first Earth ambassador, walked carefully through the training grounds. He had traded his battle armor for diplomatic robes, though his scales still bore the marks from his encounter with Rex. "Remember," Tom said, walking beside him, "hold your hand out slowly. Let him come to you." Rex sat perfectly at attention, watching as Gray extended his scaled hand. The commander's 4 eyes blinked nervously. "I still don't understand," Gray admitted. "How do you know he won't attack?" Tom smiled. "Because he trusts me, and he knows you're not a threat anymore. Dogs are excellent judges of character, better than most humans, actually." Rex sniffed Gray's hand, then pressed his head against it gently. The alien commander's scales flushed with excitement. "Remarkable," he whispered. "All my life, I thought strength came from having the biggest weapons, the strongest armor. But this is different." Around them, other handlers were working with curious Dominion officials. Some were demonstrating basic commands, others explaining the history of how humans and dogs had evolved together. A young alien scientist was sitting cross-legged on the ground, completely fascinated by a German Shepherd puppy in training. "Your counsel was right about one thing," Major Wilson said, approaching with a tablet showing training statistics. "We do have something to teach you, but we're learning from you too." Gray nodded, still gently petting Rex. "Our medical technology, combined with your understanding of interspecies cooperation. The possibilities are endless." Tom watched as Rex demonstrated perfect discipline, staying calm and friendly with Gray while remaining alert to his surroundings. Other dogs were doing the same with different alien visitors, showing the perfect balance of training and natural intelligence that had so confused the Dominion. "You know what the best part is," Tom said, giving Rex the release command. The dog immediately relaxed, though he stayed close to his handler. Every time you think you understand them, dogs surprise you with something new. They're not just following orders. They're thinking, feeling partners. A group of alien children, permitted to visit Earth for the first time, watched in wonder as another handler demonstrated search and rescue techniques. Their scales rippled with excitement when the dog found the hidden target in seconds. "My superiors thought I was crazy," Gray admitted, watching the demonstration, suggesting we learn from Earth instead of conquering it. "But look at this." He gestured to the training ground, where humans, dogs, and aliens work together. "This is true power, not domination, but cooperation." Tom pulled a tennis ball from his pocket, Rex's favorite reward. "Want to see something really special?" "Rex, ready." The dog's ears perked up, his whole body focusing on Tom while staying perfectly controlled. Gray watched in amazement as handler and dog performed a complex series of commands, moving like dance partners who could read each other's minds. "This is why you would have never conquered Earth," Tom explained, throwing the ball as Rex's reward. "You saw our dogs as weapons we controlled, but they're family we trust. That's something your empire never understood. Until now." Gray's scales shifted to a gentle blue, a sign of contentment in his species. "The Dominion has ruled through fear for generations. Perhaps it's time we learned a better way." He looked at Rex playing with his ball, then back at Tom. "Your dogs aren't just changing how we see Earth. They're changing how we see ourselves. As the sun set over the base, humans and aliens continued their work together, while Earth's dogs showed them all a greater truth, that the strongest bonds aren't forged through control or domination, but through trust, respect, and the willingness to see others not as beasts to be tamed, but as friends to be cherished. Rex brought his ball back to Tom, dropping it at his feet. To him, it didn't matter if his friends had scales or skin, 2 eyes or 4. He was simply doing what dogs had done for thousands of years, working with humans to make the world a better place, one relationship at a time.